Welcome back to Locked On Spurs and the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. I know you are having such a great day. I know all Spurs fans are. We're going to be talking about the Spurs' recent win over the Denver Nuggets, and it's official. They have clinched a spot in the NBA play-in tournament out on the west side of the NBA. To do that, I am joined by my good friend, Rudy Campos. Rudy, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. He is with Sweep the League. Rudy, what happened to Team Tank, man? I guess Team Tank is all but dead, huh?
Team Tank, it's just a whole mix of Spurs fans that I guess they want, Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, but hopefully now their eyes are open even more to realize that this team is already getting to where they need to be. They're just like one player away, which they can get in the draft still.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only kind of, death kill for that would be if they go past the play-in tournament and get into the playoffs. Then I think that definitely impacts their draft status. But that is for another show. Rudy, first of all, thank you for coming back to Locked On Spurs. I mean, talk about a good time to come on. Play in the speaking of draft picks, one of the draft picks was clinched yesterday as well. Toronto's pick is secure. That's 3 first-round picks. All in all, it was a good night for the Spurs fan base, and you get a win in Denver. Rudy, tell us your thoughts about the Spurs win out in the Mile High City.
They went into the Mile High City. They got it done. They understood that getting a win there pretty much would clinch that play-in spot. They went out and they handled business, man. You knew Denver was going to make a run sometime during the game, and they actually did. I think they cut it down to about 6 points. And the Spurs just basically said, okay, let's put the pedal to the metal a little bit more, put our foot on their neck a little bit harder, and came out with a W, man. I mean, it was a great performance by the Spurs. And what's even more remarkable is that it's without DeJounte Murray, and they're still handling business. So shows the growth and the leadership that this team has with or without DeJounte on the floor.
Now, look, you mentioned the Nuggets there, and did they have an off night? Yeah, they had one of those nights. Popovich talked about it after the game, Rudy, saying that, hey, Denver, as well as any other NBA team, has those nights where things are not just falling. Denver shot atrociously, but credit San Antonio for not playing down to the competition. We've seen that time and time again this season. Denver, although record-wise, are way better than the Spurs, but on the court last night, they were not as good as the Spurs, and the Spurs didn't fall into that. They didn't try to play down to the competition. Did they get the scare late in the second half? Of course, they did. Single-digit lead for the Spurs after, I think it was the biggest lead of 21 points. Yeah, Spurs had a 21-point lead on the Denver Nuggets, everybody. But credit this Spurs team. Focus. And that's what I like from the Spurs team, from the jump for a good chunk of the game, less that moment in the third period. They pretty much went Bane versus Batman and broke Denver's back. And that's what I liked about that. They just broke them and made sure they stayed down. I want to talk to you about the game plan. Several of the Spurs after the game said that the game plan was to let Joker get his and shut everybody down. Was that the right approach?
I believe it was. I mean, you know what? Joker had 41 and 17, I think, last night.
Yeah,
but the one thing that I saw that I don't know if a lot of Spurs fans actually saw was that you let Joker get his, but they frustrated the hell out of him last night. They were collapsing on defense. You saw a lot of help from Primo, Keldon, Devin. When it came to Jakob and Zach Collins, when they were guarding him, they made it real tough for him, but they also allowed him to just get his. It was a pretty off night for Denver. I totally understand teams do have that. Spurs take full advantage of it. Unlike the North Carolina Tar Heels, which I'm still bitter about, the Spurs continued to just pound the rock and get the points. Their defense was remarkable last night. But again, the way they played Jokic last night was very well. They double teamed him. They collapsed on him when he had the ball. They did allow him to get his, but they frustrated him. And what people tend to realize is that when you frustrate Nikola Jokic, the chances of him getting tossed from a game are super, super likely. And we almost saw that last night when he got in the rest phase.
What I also like about the win versus Denver was heading into that contest, the Spurs got a couple of wins versus the Blazers. And, for a minute there, Rudy, I thought this was just gonna be fool's gold. You're playing against Portland. Portland, they are who they are. They're definitely a bottom feeder in the NBA, and they were for the most part relatively easy wins. So I'm thinking, okay, the Spurs are finally going to get tested, and they definitely stepped up to the plate. They didn't, as mentioned earlier, they didn't play down. They actually played up and then some versus Denver. And you got to give credit to the young Spurs, razor focused throughout the night. You talked about DeJounte Murray being out again. Trey Jones is just, whoa, he is really becoming a legit backup to DeJounte Murray, Rudy.
Oh yeah, and you saw that coming from the summer league play that he's been having. His game has been stepping up a lot. He's great on the defensive end. He can actually score the ball. He kind of gives you the vibe of one pass per Derek White. I mean, he plays both sides of the ball. He's not going to be, as I guess star potential as Derek White was while he was here. But when you're talking about a solid backup point guard, you've got one in Trey Jones. And again, I'm sorry to all my North Carolina fans out there. I'm talking high about a Duke player, but nonetheless, I mean, Trey Jones is the real deal right now. Spurs got a great backup for many, many years to come. You can't really say much more about Trey, that he's just getting the job done. And with DeJounte out, it's just an easy transition for him. And I credit that a lot to his summer league play.
Yeah. Spurs beat Denver last night, 116-97. The Spurs are now 34-45, well exceeding at least projected expectations record-wise heading into this season. Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson each had 20 points, and Josh Richardson had 18 points in the win. We were going to talk about Richardson up until we found out that the Spurs were in the play-in, so we nixed it. But I'll give you a few seconds here, Rudy. Josh Richardson. I mean, he's been a Spur for 10 years now? I mean, the way he's fit in with this team is just ridiculous.
It's awesome, man. I loved Jay Rich when he played for Miami and Dallas, actually. People forget he was putting up some numbers back then. I think he averaged 20 or right close to 20 a game for a whole year. This guy can play ball, and he is a perfect Spur. He's not a superstar. He's not a big-time star. He's a guy that comes in and gets the job done. Remember a guy like Bruce Bowen, he can come in, he just gets the jobs done. He's that type of player. I'm glad the Spurs have him. Time to lock him up, I believe, because he should be a Spur for many more years to come.
Yep, that's definitely a topic on a future Locked On episode. But yeah, Jay Rich is just playing great, stepping in and stepping up. And he may be young, Rudy, but he's one of the very few veterans on this squad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he really is. And the good thing about it is he's been battle tested throughout the years. He's been on some great organizations. He's had some great coaches. Coming over with Coach Pop is just making his game even that much more. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's a leader in the locker room, who's a great leader on the court as well for these young guys. And it's funny because we're saying young guys, but yeah, he's young himself. Look at the guys like they have DeJounte Murray, Jay Richardson. I mean, you've also got guys like Doug McDermott that are relatively young, but are really big time leaders at such an old young age, I guess is the best way to say it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he fits in to the timeline that the Spurs are working with now. So, and that's what I like about it as well. But yeah, Jay Rich is stepping up. And again, we'll talk about him a lot more in a future episode of Locked On Spurs. Defensively, Rudy, the Spurs did take care of business, holding Denver to 17 fast break points. Denver is one of the league leaders in that department. And Josh Richardson just talked about that after the game. So all in all, it was a great night. You get a win in the Mile High City. You do your part, that Spurs that is, do their part to ensure that they stay on course with the play-in. They need a little help. They got the help from Phoenix beating the Lakers. And by the way, Rudy, how sweet is that? Spurs are in the play-in while the Lakers, the mighty Lakers with LeBron and AD and Westbrook are out of the playoff completely, Rudy.
I know. I mean, you're talking about you need anything more to celebrate in San Antonio besides Fiesta that's going on. You can celebrate the Lakers' demise. This has to show a lot of people. You know what? the whole debate about LeBron being the GOAT, and I don't care about the Jordan LeBron debate. I'm just talking about the GOAT of the NBA. I've been starting to say LeBron is the GOAT. He's the GOAT when it comes to statistics. But you talk about an overall player, winner, and all that, he comes nowhere near probably the top five in that category at all.
Yeah, all in all, it's again just a great night. Joker may have gotten his, but Collins and Pirtle did what they can. Really made him work for his points, as Rudy highlighted earlier. But hey, the Spurs are looking cool, and you can look cool too with Shady Rays sunglasses. Now, Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. Also, something you won't find anywhere else is Shady Rays' Insane Protection Program. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every pair. They'll send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened. Give them a try. And if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, hey, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop at Shady Rays. Exclusively for our listeners, head to shadyrays.com right now. Use code LOCKEDON to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. You heard that right. 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code LOCKEDON for their best deal of the season. 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Ray sunglasses, backed by over 150,000 verified 5-star reviews. I know, and I definitely know that Rudy's going to get himself a pair of Shady Ray sunglasses to look cool out in Fiesta and possibly a play-in game in San Antonio. Who knows? Maybe that's still up in the air. But yeah, go to Shady Rays. Just Google that and get yourself that deal. Don't forget that code is locked on for that good deal they got going again. 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. We're talking with Rudy Campos. He's with Sweep the League, and he's excited that Team Tank is no more. Were you ever on Team Tank?
No, man. I mean, honestly, I wasn't on Team Tank. I was not on Team Play-In. I was on Team whatever the hell happens. That's the team I was on.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, whatever the hell happens is wins and more wins. So after the win versus Denver, the Spurs all but secured their spot in the play-in tournament, clinching number 10 as of now. Yes, there's still a way for this team to move up, Rudy, into that play-in, like a seeding, if you will. They will officially play the New Orleans Pelicans. So let's dive into this now. Trying to not look at a kind of a game preview because, things can happen in the last 4 games. Knock on wood, nothing bad happens to the Spurs. But you look at the Spurs making it to the play-in tourney, Rudy. At the beginning of the season, did you think this was possible?
No, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I'm one of the guys that can honestly admit I pegged them at 24 or less wins in the beginning of the season. So they're already 10 wins over what I expected. I had a small gut feeling that they could work their way into a play-in game. I just didn't see it happening. I felt that this team was going to take a full year to adjust, to get acclimated with everybody. You had some new faces coming in the offseason. So normally it takes about a year for this team to gel once you get new faces in there just based off history. So it's definitely it's a mild surprise to me that they're in the play-in game, but not a complete shocker that it's for me that it is in the play-in game.
Yeah, I'm glad you see that because, should people be shocked they're in the play-in? I mean, so many things have happened. The bottom half of the West was pretty weak. For all they say, we talked about the Lakers, spiraled out of control. Portland spiraled out. The Pelicans, Zion, and then BI got hurt, and so on and so forth. So the Spurs took advantage of that. And, you look at this team, they went through a few crazy, losing streaks, and when I look at this team, Rudy, one thing that stands out for me and that they're in the play-in is how they did it with so many change-ups to the lineups and the roster. I mean, we saw a flurry of deals in this season, something we've never seen the Spurs team do historically. From the Derek White to the Brent Forbes, Thad Young, and the draft picks, and we all know how much moves they made, and then they get hit with injuries. Most recent right now is DeJounte Murray. Then you had several other injuries happen to key players. Doug McDermott goes out for the season, and yet here they are still fighting. Really talk about the fact that despite all that, here they are.
Yeah, the thing that a lot of people were wondering is, okay, you trade one of your best players in Derek White. Now, it's a bold move, very bold move. You're still in the mix. You're in the play-in game. You're still trying to fight for possibly getting a playoff spot. You make that move. But if that move doesn't make, are we still talking about them making the play-in game? It was a very bold move by Brian Wright and the front office. And you're right. I mean, you're talking about injuries as well. DeJounte going down, not going down necessarily, but being ill right now. He's out of the lineup. Had Jakob that missed a few games. I honestly thought, Jeff, that the Doug McDermott injury was going to be almost one of those nails in the coffin for this play-in game. Doug brought in a good side of basketball that the Spurs needed. Outside shooting, he could score. He can get his buckets. We call him Doug McBuckets for a reason. I thought when he went down that was going to kind of be one of those nail in the coffin, say, okay, there's always next season. But they fought. I mean, you saw with Derek White being traded away, Jay Richardson coming in, you saw the emergence of Keldon and Devin Vassell. A lot of these guys are stepping their game up. And the one thing that people got to realize is they were so harsh on Keldon Johnson at the beginning of the season. Well, he's an Olympic gold medalist. We expect this. You're getting that player now. It just takes time to evolve. Look at his three-point shot. His jumper is coming in now. So we're watching these guys grow up at a perfect time because, as you all could tell in the NCAA tournament, if you get hot at the end of the season, it could go into the postseason and make your season that much better.
The fact that they're play-in bound, they secured their spot, and still with the possibility of moving up at least a position up to 9, to overtake the Pelicans, that could, just a testament to this team. And Rudy, I look at this squad and how young they are. This is a squad that also inserted a 19-year-old kid into the starting lineup a few times, who relied on him when they got hit with the injury bug or COVID. He was on the Keldon Johnson, Austin Spurs, San Antonio Spurs track, a little good chunk in Austin, and then the rest in the NBA. We saw that, and here they are. You insert kind of a new piece, Jay Rich, and they're still plugging away. Let's just say, how much credit does Popovich deserve?
Well, Pop gets credit a lot of times for a lot of stuff, but I think this time around he should get a little bit more for it. I mean, like I said, the whole Jay Rich thing coming in, and then you got to remember too, Pop doesn't play rookies. He doesn't give opportunities to rookies, especially 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid coming in. You wouldn't expect it. Pop has had to rely on these two guys a lot, as well as getting Zach Collins back from injury. And having him inserted into the lineup, now he's starting a little bit. Well, he started when Jock was out, but he's getting the majority of the minutes now with Jock Landale out. This is a credit to Pop right here. He has to find lineups that work. He's found lineups that work. He's bringing out the best. Him and the coaching staff are bringing out the best in a lot of these guys. You're not getting Primo on the offensive end all the time.
Right.
But look at the block he had on Joker last night. I mean, look at the defense that he's playing. His length is disrupting a lot of players. So Pop is really he should get a lot of credit, as well as the coach staff, for making these changes and allowing these kids to develop, right before our eyes. Like I've been saying, right before our eyes. Pop deserves a whole bunch of credit for this. And I do hope they continue. I hope it goes beyond the play-in tournament here. I hope they do make it into the playoffs.
I'm glad you brought that up. Jakob Poeltl, after the game, mentioned how it was a personal goal of his, a team goal as well, that the squad would make it to the play-in. And then he made it very clear, Rudy, that yes, it's a good accomplishment, for a very young team, but he said that that's not enough for them, that they want more. They want to go beyond that. They want to win how many games they need to win to advance and get into the playoffs. Rudy, Can this team do that? Can this team survive the play-in?
If you look at the three teams involved, Spurs, Pelicans, and the Clippers, because I really feel those are the three teams that are going to be involved in the play-in. I say the Pelicans, in the history of the Spurs, I think the Spurs have the advantage there, and it's going to go more towards experience. I think the experience is going to weigh out a lot when it comes to the Pelican series. Now, when you get into a game against the Clippers to actually make the playoff spot, sans one Kawhi Leonard, but you do have Paul George, who would be your biggest threat. When it comes to the Clippers are not exactly that team that you should fear. So I'm not going to say that it's going to be an easy road to the playoffs that the Spurs can get that momentum and keep it in the play-in tournament. But I do like their chances compared to, say, if Minnesota was to be that team that you were going to have to go through to get into the playoffs. I would rather play the Clippers than the Timberwolves if you get past the Pelicans. But I really feel that if everything sets up like the way the universe has right now, the Spurs should meet Phoenix in that first round.
Man, I mean, you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, or I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I just look at the Minnesota team as the only one that legit could put a scare in me in the play-in tournament. If for some reason they have to meet, the Spurs advance, that's the one team that really, really puts the fear in me. I mean, Cat and Ant, I mean, look what they do. I mean, they just, they could be in handful, but I think they can handle a Pelicans. I'm pretty sure. But it's going to be tough. I mean, BI, if he comes back, I think he's going to be back, or he is back already. That might pose an issue for the Spurs. That Pelicans team is looking to try to advance as well, just as much as the Spurs are. So it will be an interesting matchup. Again, we'll preview that series down the road. But talking about the Spurs into the play-in, so here they are. They made it. Would you say, Rudy, that they're ahead of this rebuild schedule right now with this milestone in this new phase of the franchise's history?
Leaps and bounds. I mean, leaps and bounds. You were thinking everybody else was thinking that this rebuild was going to take a couple of years. And has it even taken a year? I don't even think so. I mean, you're talking to, when I hear rebuild, I'm thinking a 63-loss team like Phoenix a while back. You're rebuilding. You've got a superstar. You're trying to rebuild through the draft, trying to get the right free agents to come in and everything. The Spurs team, I don't think, is actually at that quote-unquote rebuild phase. I think it was just retooling and reshaping itself because they already knew they had the foundation. They cemented everything already. They had the core. They just had to get the right players in mix. They had to get the guys to believe. They had to get these players developed. Everything fell into the place right now. Now you're in the play-in tournament. Can you really call it a rebuild? Not really. I mean, not only that, Jeff, you've got 3 first-round picks coming up this year. So you're just reloading, not rebuilding.
Yeah. I forgot about those 3. Yeah, those 3 first-round picks. Definitely going to help in this reload, whatever you want to call it. I agree with you. I think they are definitely ahead of schedule. They are. How much along are they? We'll definitely find out once the next season begins. Do they vault? I mean, do you really think they can vault themselves from a play-in team to a playoff team? Land in the top 6 in the West next season. I mean, if they pull that off, I'm like, okay, this team is really ahead of schedule, landing at 6, 5, or 4. But remains to be seen because there's so many moving parts. The picks. Those are gonna, if they keep them, Rudy.
Yeah,
those are 3 babies coming in. I mean, that's huge. I mean, go ahead, Rudy. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm trying to think here. I really feel that, if they keep the 3 first-round picks, I think it's going to be picks that are going to be really, really beneficial for the team. Obviously, they want to try to get a stretch 4. That's probably their biggest need right now. If not, you've got 3 first-round picks where you can possibly trade for a stretch 4. But, I mean, the top 6 team in the West, I'm going to say probably not. I still say this is a play-in tournament team for the next couple of years. And then you might start seeing a playoff team where you're right around the maybe top 6 right there. Because let's be
Hmm.
real, the Lakers dynasty is done. They can't re-sign all these guys. They can't keep the same squad. Portland's
Right.
not going to be there. The Pelicans, with the whole Zion situation, that might take some toll on them.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Clippers are kind of on a spiral as well. So I could see maybe a
Yeah.
couple
It
of years
depends
for
on what
play-in tournament.
Kawhi does. Yeah. If
Yeah,
Kawhi is never going
exactly.
to be
So
back. Yeah.
it could be I think a playoff team in maybe 3 to 4 years. I would say if the reload goes as planned.
Yeah. Hopefully the Spurs will reload smartly as well and not just sign players to make the smart roster moves that fit with this current team's projection and youth movement. Hey, one thing that definitely does fit in your daily life are Built Bars. Built Bars are the healthy choice, and you don't want to be getting candy bars. Trust me. If you're trying to slim down, maybe get back on track on your New Year's resolutions to lose weight, Built Bar can help you. Look, eating right begins and ends with Built Bar. Have you ever tried the Puff? They have a Puff version. It's basically one of their best selling and best tasting bars out there at Built Bar. Basically, what they are, they're the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy and they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat. Covered 100% real chocolate. Tastes like a candy bar. I know I have tried many Built Bars, and sometimes I get hooked. They're that good. It feels like I'm eating a candy bar, but they're not. Puffs, for example, are a fan favorite, and they got some incredible flavors, such as the cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. It's so good. They're going to be your new favorite. Once again, all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, the puff included, 100% real chocolate. Get yourself a box of Built Bars right now. They're low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They're better. Look, a typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. You don't want that. Go to built.com, scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away. I guarantee it. High protein, low cal, high fiber, low carb. Now, for example, most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. That's it. Compare that to a candy bar, which is usually around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. From mint brownie, coconut almond, even this month's flavor, white chocolate cookies and cream, they are all delicious. New flavors are coming out all the time. And yeah, if you think a flavor is going to be your favorite and you try it out, get yourself a box of them right now. It'll be good for you and they're delicious. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste, and they make taste delicious first. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCK15, 15% off your first order when you use that code LOCK15. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. We're here with Rudy Campos. He is with Sweep the League, and we're talking about the Spurs win over Denver, and now that they have secured a spot in the play-in tournament on the Western Conference. All right, Rudy, time to give a little prediction because I don't know. Hopefully, you'll be back soon. But if you're not, and the game's here, we want to get you on record. Spurs, Pelicans, how did this play-in game go down?
Oh man. Well, we're gonna go as of right now, it being in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So I really think experience plays a whole lot into it. I mean, all the way from Pop all the way to DeJounte, even to the way the guys are playing, I feel momentum is kicking in at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of momentum, a lot going into it. So I expect the Spurs to beat the Pelicans. If you're asking for a score, let's go 112-102.
I'm right there with you. I think the Spurs are clicking at the right time. Now, granted, we got to make it very clear. Rudy and I are making this, this point with still several games. Well, at least a few games left. I think about 4 games left. Right? Because they go next to Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota.
3. I think
No,
3.
3 games. Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
Minnesota, Golden State, and then Dallas. So with 3 games less, anything can happen. Hopefully, nothing bad to San Antonio happens. But of course, you got to keep that in mind. Yeah, I just think that they're riding a wave of momentum. They're clicking at the right time. They recently strung together a 4-game win streak. They're showing they can handle business. Portland twice, go to Denver, take advantage of a Nuggets team that was just off their game and break their neck. Go Bane, break their back. I like what this team is looking at. They're playing out there with confidence on both ends of the court. I think the Spurs get the W out in New Orleans. Can you imagine that, Rudy? And they advance? That'd be awesome. And that'd be good too, because the kids are getting their first time at running the show at a play-in. Because the last play-in, it was all Rudy Gay and DeMar DeRozan and Patty Mills. Now it's third time, Rudy.
Yeah, this is all experience. I mean, how do you? And that was my biggest gripe with Team Tank. I mean, come on, if you have a chance to get bonus play against the top teams in your conference, why in the hell don't you want to do that? I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Well, no, why make the play-in? Because it hurts our draft choice. Hello, a lot of these guys are drafted 15 or below. Why in the hell are you worried about draft pick right now? They show they can draft wherever. It doesn't matter where they fall in the draft. Yeah. So, yeah, Team Tank, get the hell out of here.
Good. He's flipping tables over there. Flipping tables. He's upset. Yeah, I mean, the Spurs have options this offseason. If they decide to keep them, those being the picks, okay, so be it. But they could try to get it to the top 10. They're definitely going to fall out of the top 10, that's for sure. But yes, and it probably will be expensive to get into the top 10, but they have assets. They have a war chest to do that. They got their picks. They got money. They got players. Yes, even a guy like Jay Rich. Sorry, Rudy, I know that might sting a little bit, but that could happen. They could sign and trade Lonnie. They got things to try to make things happen. And what we saw with Brian Wright in the ahead of the trade deadline, who knows? Perhaps the Spurs are in good hands heading into the offseason, and they're definitely playing well as the play-in game inches closer. Mr. Rudy Campos, we thank you again for hopping on Locked On Spurs, recapping the Denver win, and of course your overall thoughts on the play-in success, or at least the milestone that this young team has reached. Tell us what's going on over there at Sweep the League. How can fans chat with you?
Yeah, you can chat with me on Twitter. It's at Sweep the League. You can find me on Facebook. Just search Rudy Campos Jr. Shoot me a friend request. I usually get back to everybody. But yeah, man, just going through a little transition here. We're still covering stuff on the download, but hopefully we've got some pretty big announcements here coming soon for me and the guys over at Sweep the League. So fingers crossed, things play out. So we'll see what happens.
Again, follow Rudy on Twitter at Sweep the League. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast. We thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Thank you for visiting the YouTube page. Rudy, I don't know this. Locked On Spurs is now officially on YouTube now. So another avenue for Spurs fans to get their daily dose of Locked On Spurs review and the rest of the guests that are frequently guests here at Locked On Spurs. Hey, Spurs Pelicans, go check out what Locked On Pelicans may have to say about drawing your silver and black in the play-in game. Subscribe to that show and much more over the Locked On NBA Network. So for Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.
Yeah.